I think outside of the Cleveland Browns, the Miami Dolphins might be in one of the five worst situations to be in the NFL. You are a mediocre team that's expensive and injury prone. That is a hell of a trifecta. That is
Terrible,
a terrible trifecta.
terrible, man, terrible.
So what is your response to that the statement that I just made in that observation, sir?
I mean, Herbie, if I had the Homer glasses on, I'd probably protest, but the Homer glasses aren't worth wearing, Herbie. They aren't worth wearing because when I put the Homer glasses on, for some reason, tears fall down. So, Herbie, you're 100% right, man. The Dolphins are in probably one of, and here's the thing, Herbie, it gets better, right? This is the thing that about this team that kills me. When we have talented players that we draft, that we bring up, Herbie, we let them walk. We let Robert Hunt, who is a quality offensive lineman, we let him walk. We let Christian Wilkins, he ended up getting hurt this year, but he was a quality defensive lineman. We let him walk. Javon Holland, Herbie, he's gone. Mike McDaniel said he's free to test the market. Herbie, that is whenever a coach says you are free to test the market, that's just code language for that nigga gone. He out of here. You know what I'm saying? Because anytime that's said, these dudes don't come back. Because why? Somebody is going to pay them more money. In some people's mind, overpay. Regardless, Herbie, the Dolphins are great at drafting talent. Shout out to True Blazer. Andrew Van Ginkel was one that really hurt me, Herbie, because to have a playmaking defensive player, a playmaking linebacker, like, and that's something that we could use, Herbie. Like you're telling me we got to choose between Anthony Walker and maybe Terrell Dodson. And I like Terrell Dodson. I would like for the Dolphins to go forward with him over Anthony Walker if there has to be a choice. But Herbie, the Dolphins just put themselves in terrible situations, dog. And at the end of the day, man, you look at who we've already let go, right? They cut Mostert. Obviously, they decided to go younger at the running back position, right? We have Chan, we have Jalen Wright, and we're probably gonna pick up a vet or two. We're gonna probably draft a running back in the late rounds. That's actually one thing Greer is actually pretty good at drafting is running backs. We lost Kendall Fuller, Herbie, which this opens up now, mind you, Herbie. We lost Kendall Fuller, who when he was healthy was decent, but he was hurt a lot of the season. Ended the season on IR. There's not much he could do for you. We're about to lose Javon Holland. So now our secondary is about to be in dire straits. I don't even need to get into the offensive line, right? But Herbie, since we are now in free agency period and we don't know exactly where they're going to go, Mike McDaniel in his presser, I think it was either yesterday or the day before, Mike McDaniel in his presser talked about how the Dolphins were fully ready to invest in the offensive line in both free agency and the draft. Now, Herbie, with the draft coming up, obviously we're going to have our episodes where we dig into that closer towards the draft. But if there's if there's one belief that I have, Herbie, is that when you're a team drafting, I feel like the teams that are bad and the teams that remain mediocre are the teams that draft for need. The teams that remain at the top, the teams that often seem to have talent, like a team like the Eagles, teams like the Lions right now, teams like the Ravens, they draft the best player available. And Herbie, if you don't do a good job addressing what you need in free agency, you end up stuck feeling like you have to draft for need, and as opposed to drafting the best player available. So Herbie, I need the Dolphins to strike on some of these free agents. And listen, the free agent game is a very hit or miss game, right? We got fucking Jordan Poyer, Herbie, and he was dealing with injuries, and we weren't quite sure if he was done. Newsflash, that nigga done. Jordan Poyer, get him, keep him away, send him back to the Bills. I don't care where he goes, right? But on the flip side, you get a Calais Campbell, right? You get Calais Campbell, who was year 17, was a beast for us. So, it's always going to be a crapshoot when you go for free agents and the draft, because when a team is letting somebody go, Herbie, they're often letting them go for a reason. It might not be the most valid of reasons, but it's for a reason. But you look at the Dolphins, Herbie, and fuck it. I got a list of names right here, right? Because the two positions that I hope we address, Herbie, at least to some degree, prior to the draft. DBs, interior offensive line, right? Barbecue chicken. Facts, right? Herbie. So I was looking at the name of some of the corners that's going to be out, right? You tell me what you think about this, right? You got guys like Carlton Davis, Byron Murphy, Travarius Ward, Christian Fulton, Asante Samuel Jr. I mean, there are some names that are going to be floating around. someone that we could either put opposite of Ramsey, or if we decided to put Ramsey at the nickel and maybe draft a corner in the in the draft, maybe with our first pick. You know what I'm saying? Look, and then when it comes down to it, Herbie, I actually thought about what homie said. Your homeboy that was a Vikings fan. I think it was Ashton.
Ashton, yeah, Ashton.
Yeah. He
A-Town
talked
24.
about A Town 24. He talked about T. Higgins. I actually had him on my list, Herbie. I said, if anything happens with Tyreek, I'd be down with T. Higgins. I just don't know if the money would
I
work.
was
I just
okay.
don't know.
So before you get in the weeds, because I have the list of NFL.com's top 100 free agents, and he's number one on the list, right? And I was actually going to ask you that question. What is the realistic way? Because the thing about the Dolphins is there's two ways to have this conversation. Is what you want as a fan and what's realistic, right? What you want as a fan is give me everybody that you could give me. Give me every fucking free agent that we could get. But what's realistic is what's the blueprint to get there? You guys have $5 million. That's all you got.
Well, no, it's not. Well, actually, that's gonna go up because Armstead.
Yeah, because you're gonna cut Bradley Chubb, and you're gonna cut Teron Armstead. Right, we
Well,
understand that.
no, he took a pay cut. We have 14 more million to work with, and and if they restructure Austin Jackson's contract, if they get some restructures, we could free up like 40 million. There's a lot of ifs in that, but with Teron Armstead, we got 14 million saved, dog. So that's one. So we'll see what happens next, bro. They could restructure Tua's contract, which I wouldn't want them to do that. Like, what I mean? We could get 19 million there, but I'd rather them not do that.
Okay, and for the people when people are saying restructure a contract, what that means is the money that they're supposed to be owed, they're still going to be owed, right? What happens is instead of it counting against the cap as hard money, they just changed it to be a bonus. Like they just said, "Hey, bro, just show up to work and we'll give you a $5 million
signing bonus." Yeah,
signing bonus, right? So
Yeah.
that's how you free up stuff. That's how you restructure. The problem is that if you do that too much, it hamstrings you down the road. That's what happened with the New Orleans Saints. They kept restructuring contracts, keep restructuring contracts, keep restructuring contracts. The problem is that ultimately adds more dead money down the road. So you can save money if you do it smartly. Do you trust this front office to handle this situation the correct way?
I mean, Herbie, that's hard to say. I mean, well, I don't know how much longer this front office really has, right?
And that's the problem. That is the problem. When you are a fan of a team that is in the worst position to be, where the front office is going to work in the best interest of themselves, not necessarily the best interest of the team. They're going to do things that are going to hurt the team down the road because they might not be there. So why should they give a fuck? Why should they care? So, and again, but this is just about next season, so that's neither here nor there. Let's not get caught in the woods. But go ahead, sir.
But yeah, man. Look, when it comes down to it, Herbie, when it comes to free agency talk, it's hard to say what direction we're gonna go. But I'll give you an eye on. I really didn't pay as much attention to the corners yet, because I feel like at 13 we'll probably end up drafting a DB in that slot, possibly a corner. I haven't dug into some of the draft. I've been looking at some names for the draft of certain guys, Herbie, like just random
fuck the draft. Let's just keep it with the free agents. Like the draft, we got plenty of time to do the draft.
So when it came to the guards, I was looking at some names at some guys. I didn't work out the cap or the money, so I'm just throwing these names out there, right? The whether they could work, whether we could afford them, how we can make it work. That's another story. But I was looking at Trey Smith, who was a quality guard for the Kansas City Chiefs. The problem with him, and the problem with a lot of these guys on this list, Herbie, is that they had injuries, right? Trey Smith has blood clots in his lungs. So he is a health risk if you decide to go that route, which is like total Dolphins. Like it's total Dolphins, right? Like they will totally do it. You also have a guy like Will Freeze from Indianapolis, quality guard. I think he was pretty good in run blocking. You have Kevin Zeitler. He's an old guy. He's an older guy. He was on Detroit, one of those big boys on Detroit's offensive line. And you also had Patrick McCarry, the guard from Baltimore. And the good thing about Patrick McCarry, Herbie, is that he's a real versatile type of lineman. You could put him at the tackle. So in the event that, let's say, Austin Jackson goes down again, or maybe Patrick Paul gets hurt, you can kind of slot him in. But he does, at least for Baltimore for sure, he plays better at guard, which is where we would need him. We would need him because Herbie, there's no freaking way. There's no way in hell that Liam Eichenberg and Robert Jones are coming back, Herbie. Herbie, there's no way. We cannot allow that to happen, dog. Like, we can't. We just can't. Like, Herbie, here's the thing that people have to understand. In every sport, the backups, the bench guys, they're never going to be better than the starters. Rarely are they better than the starters. And if they're better than the starters, why are they on the bench, right? That's neither here nor there.
Exactly. Yeah.
At the end of the day, you at least want your backups to be serviceable. Herbie, our starters aren't even serviceable. Herbie, Liam Eichenberg probably wouldn't even be a backup on another team unless it's like a team like the Browns. Robert Jones starting? Herbie, he wouldn't be a backup on another team. He's that bad. Like, Herbie, we have players that literally hamstring our offense. I don't think people understand. And shout out to EM Dolphin fan. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the first time I seen you comment. Appreciate the love. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
I know you feel me.
So obviously, so let me get this point in before we go forward, right? And not to cut you off, but and it's going to tie into the next point that we're going to make because I have a list of the 20 greatest free agent signings of all time, and don't confuse greatest with best because it is slim pickings. Because spoiler alert, free agency does not exist in the NFL. It doesn't. If you're a free agent in the NFL, it's because the team wants you to be a free agent. Like, it's rare where you have a situation with a Saquon Barkley and stuff like that. Those are rare. That takes monumental stupidity from a front office to allow Saquon Barkley to become a free agent.
Giants.
9.9 times out of 10, a player is a free agent for a reason. Whether that player is overrated and that team does not want to pay them because they have them in their they have them in their situation and they understand more than anybody, or it is a health risk. Rod just told you about Trey Smith. Trey Smith is number 2 on this list. Trey Smith was a home run for the Kansas City Chiefs. They already had to sign Creed Humphrey. They got him in the same draft. They can't pay both of them. That is one of the rare situations where you are a cap casualty as a good player that somebody wants to keep. But he has blood clots. So that is a risk. T. Higgins, the Bengals want to keep him, but they're not going to give 2 wide receivers number 1 wide receiver money. Those are rare situations where a team wants to keep a free agent, but they can't do it. But the other 90% of the time is because that player is no longer wanted with them. So free agency in the NFL is cool, it's fine, but it is not the end-all be-all, right? Like, it's not the end-all be-all, especially at offensive line, because good teams don't let good offensive linemen go.
Especially now, Herbie. Especially
now. With how hard it is to draft them, how hard it is to find them, how hard it is to get quality ones that understand your system, you ain't going nowhere, buddy, unless you absolutely have to, and we're screwed and we have no way to keep you. You feel me? Like, you have a situation where Ronnie Stanley is available, could be available if the Ravens don't re-sign him. He's probably going to go back to the Ravens.
Right.
You feel me? So it's just really hard, dog. But what were you getting at too, Rod?
Well, basically, man, the point I'm really making, Herbie, is that at the end of the day,
wait. True Blazer said, and the fish traded up for Liam Eichenberg.
It was a lie, True. It was a lie, Blaze. It was a freaking lie. To be fair, Herbie, to the GM, even though I can't stand Liam Eichenberg, he did have good tape for college. If for what it's worth. For what it's worth. Sometimes a guy could look good on film and then they get to the league and they just, for whatever reason, and Herbie, you know what? It wouldn't shock me because the Dolphins have a way of having players that underperform. We have our players that do perform.
Bad coaching,
yeah.
Man.
We have our players that do perform, and then you know what I'm saying. But then at the end of the day, too, Herbie, like a guy like Dallas Thomas, who was a turnstile for us. I can't remember the team he went to because I'm just now thinking about him. But he was actually a quality offensive lineman somewhere else. The name of the team escapes me. But we have players like Charles Harris. He's one of my most hated picks that we ever had. I think we drafted him at 15. He was a defensive end. He didn't do – this nigga might have had like 5 sacks for us in like 3 years, right? but he actually made noise in Detroit. Like he actually went to other teams and with at the end of the day, Herbie, sometimes players get drafted into situations that just don't work for them, right?
Right.
Like the Dolphins have players that for whatever reason we have the players here, and majority of them they do work well in the system, but just a lot of them get hurt. We have a lot of injury prone. That's really one of our biggest problems. We need to draft guys that just don't have that moniker. Like we can't go into the second half of the season with half the team out, Herbie. Like it just like you're just never gonna win like that, bro. You can't expect.
Well, let's not get too caught up in the weeds because I mean that's more season related. I'm trying to keep it in regards to the free agency
Fair
and
enough.
stuff
Fair
like
enough.
that. Yeah.
Fair enough. But look, man. What I'm hoping, Herbie, is that listen. At the end of the day, I don't know what Will Freeze or Kevin Zeitler are doing, and even an old head like Brandon Scherf, fucking Patrick McCarry. I don't know exactly what they would bring to the Dolphins, Herbie, but I guarantee Herbie, like the Rock used to say, I guarantee they be better than Liam Eichenberg and Robert Jones. I guarantee it, Herbie.
Bro, one of my favorite things, one of my favorite ongoing bits, and it's not a bit, but it's an ongoing bit, is your hate, despise, and loathing of Liam Eichenberg, bro. It cracks me up every week, man. I'm not gonna hold you, dog.
I'll put it to you like this. And this is real rap, dog. Y'all might think I'm capping, but I'm keeping it a buck. If Liam Eichenberg saw me and he was like, "Yo, I seen you talking shit on that podcast, Herbie. I'm coming out the shirt. I'm coming out the shirt, Herbie. He's an NFL football player, Herbie, so he might crush me, but he gotta whoop me first, bro. I'm sorry, he gotta whoop me. I'm so done with him. I have no respect for him, dog. How can I have no respect for you as a man and you're a football player? No, man. Get Liam Eichenberg off my team, bro. Get him off.
All right, man. But